Okay guys, this is Chad here again. Going to be installing a new forearm on my rifle today, and I figured I'd just do a video on the process. I've got a Troy MRFC on the rifle currently and a JP adjustable gas block. We're going to be replacing that with the Yankee Hill Machine rifle length diamond forearm, and then a low profile gas block from Yankee Hill Machine as well, the set screw variety. Talking about some of the tools that you need for the installation. In my opinion, an upper receiver vice block, such as this one right here, is probably the most important thing that any AR enthusiast can have in their toolbox. Basically clamps the upper receiver and barrel assembly in any standard vise mounted to a bench. Allows you pretty much free reign on the barrel nut, barrel, gas block area, the flash hider, compensator area. Just gives you the grip that you need to be able to install those parts properly and put the proper torque on them. Like I said, in my opinion, most important thing anybody can own. That and probably a magazine block allows you to work on the lower receiver, safely, keep it in the vise and whatnot. Okay, you'll need a torque wrench or some kind of socket, basically for the barrel nut wrench right here. This is just one variety made by Precision Reflex. There's several others, or just a AR armor's tool would work. You need a screwdriver set, a couple of punches. Roll pin punch comes in handy for the gas block. Basically you need a forearm, and then we're going to use the low profile gas block over here. And that's really all the tools that you need for the installation of this forearm, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, the first step is basically to disassemble your upper receiver. Just get it off of the lower, any kind of optics you have, you want to take those off. So we're going to go ahead and take off the optic right here. Set that to the side. Remove your upper receiver from your lower. Remove your bolt carrier assembly and your charging handle. Now we'll move on to removing the gas block and the current rail that I have set up here. So the first thing we're going to do is get the upper receiver set up in the action block. And this is a Model 1 sales action block. I think this came from Brownells. Basically you're going to insert the upper receiver insert into the receiver. And then you're going to take the block, and your upper receiver just fits right in the block as such. Now it's ready to clamp into your vise. Let's move on to that. Okay, we'll get our upper receiver in the vise. I'm going to mount it upside down so I can go ahead and work on the flash hider and get the gas block off of here. So get it mounted on our vise here. It's ready for work. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get the flash hider off. Just going to use a 3/4 inch wrench to break the tension of the crush washer. Remove the crush washer. Pry that little devil off. Here we go. And then we're going to use a Allen key here on our set screws. Now this is my particular gas block. Yours may be different. Okay, so I'm going to have to take off part of my rail here to be able to get the gas block off. Gas block and gas tube removed. Okay, we're going to need to get the old gas tube off of the old gas block, and in order to do that you just basically punch out this roll pin right here. And roll pin. Okay, and then you can just slide the gas tube right out. And there she is. It's a little dirty, but she'll work. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and remove my current forearm, which is the Troy MRFC. Basically just has this proprietary locking mechanism here. Take these 4 hex screws out here. And now the old forearm is removed. Got ready access to the barrel nut, so now we're going to take this old barrel nut off and replace it with Yankee Hill Machine's proprietary nut that comes with their forearms. Okay, so I flipped my vice block over and I'm attaching my barrel nut wrench to my socket here. I'm going to go ahead and get this barrel nut off. Okay. Actually, just going to leave the barrel where it is. I'm going to clean the threads just a little bit. Okay, I've got my threads cleaned up here on the upper receiver for the barrel nut. I've added just a little bit of anti-seize lubricant to the threads just to prevent any kind of, I guess you would call it, galling. Basically, you want this thing to stay on, but you want it to also come off with relative ease, you know, when you put a little bit of force to it. So we're going to go ahead and install this. Okay. We're going to get our barrel nut wrench back in place. And I've got this torque wrench set to basically about 25 foot-pounds. Requires normally about 30 foot-pounds on the barrel nut, minimum up to 80 pounds. So there's about 25. It's probably a decent 30. And we're going to try to fit our gas tube in and see what the alignment looks like here. Just about ideal. Can come just a little bit further. That'll do it. Perfect. Okay, so the next step is going to be reinstalling the gas tube into the new low profile gas block. Line the gas port in the gas tube and insert into the gas block. And you're going to line up the retainer here, the retaining hole, with the roll pin hole in the gas block. Okay, so our port is aligned. We're going to go ahead and get this pin started. I don't have a roll pin starter, but I'm going to be trimming this pin down anyways, because obviously you can see it's a little bit long for the gas block here. So getting it started, making sure that everything's lined up. Okay, everything's lined up properly. So we'll take our roll pin punch. And we'll go ahead and get this set in place. Now I didn't feel the need to clamp this down, mainly because I wanted to check it out, make sure everything is working well. So we're just going to take the Dremel and the Ziz wheel and just zizz that off here. So the next step we're going to take is to install the low profile gas block back onto the barrel here. And something that I like to do is mark the center line where the gas port is on the block itself, and then also over on the barrel just put a couple of arrows there to line it up, just to make sure that everything goes together nice and kosher. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and line the gas block and gas tube back up with the upper receiver. make sure that our marks line up. Okay. Okay, everything looks good. Okay, so now we flip the receiver back over so we have access to the set screws on the gas block here. We're just going to proceed to tighten those set screws. Now I've seen where some folks will recess the barrel just a touch under these screws in order to give it a little bit better hold. I don't really find that necessary. I've never had a problem with any kind of gas block that utilizes a set screw clamping method. Not one bit at all, so I'm not going to worry with it too much. Okay, got those nice and snug. Okay, so we're going to go in and install the rail here. Basically, you just slip it over your barrel and you thread it onto the Yankee Hill machine barrel nut. Basically, we're just going to rotate it around until the rail here on the top section comes in contact with the, or close to coming in contact with the upper receiver. And that's about as perfect of a fit as you can get, I think. Okay, what I'm going to do is take this out of the vise. I'm going to clamp on my scope mount, get these aligned, and then we'll tighten the retaining nut here down and install the retaining screws. Okay, what I'm going to do next is install my scope back onto the rifle and kind of have it mate on both sides, you know, of the rail, on the upper receiver side and on the forward rail here. Basically, that's going to mate these two sections together in basically in a line pattern. So we're going to set this up. Okay, it's kind of snug. Okay, it's going to be about as snug as I can get it. So then we can just kind of torque this down just a little bit. And we'll put it back in the vise. We'll put it back in the vise and install the retaining screws, and then we'll tighten the jam nut down. Okay, so I've got the upper receiver back in the vise here, and we're going to tighten up the jam nut with the buffer tube wrench. It works. Works well enough anyways to save the money. So we're just going to put this on here, kind of hold it in place, and just give it a nice little torque over. And that's going to be about it. I think that'll be all it needs. Okay, the next step we're going to take is to install the two anti-rotation screws using a flathead screwdriver. We're going to add just a touch of Loctite to each screw. Just a little dab. That'll basically keep them from working themselves out at all. So we're going to start each screw. Okay. And then we'll tighten the screws evenly. Give each one just a little bit of torque to hold them in place. Now we can install our flash hider and we'll be just about finished. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the flash hider. Put just a little bit of anti-seize on the threads here. And then we'll just get flash hider line back up. Looks like a winner. Okay, now that we got our new rail on our upper receiver here, everything's complete, so we're going to go ahead and reassemble the rifle. Pretty straightforward process. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial of the installation of the Yankee Hill Diamond Free Float Handguard. Pretty easy process for the most part with the right tools. You know, some of the right tools, I should say. But nonetheless, it worked out very well. Can't wait to get to the range to try this new setup out. So, you guys have a good one. We'll see you next time.